With this, we bring in our next guest. It's an honor and a pleasure to have former Super Bowl winning running back and a longtime Pittsburgh Steelers stalwart, Jerome Bettis. Jerome, welcome to the RotoExperts in the Morning. How are you, Jerome?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Jerome, before we get started and talk about what you're promoting, how long have you been aware of fantasy football, and what's your opinion on it?
On fantasy football as a whole?
Do you think it's, when did you first become aware of it? Have you ever considered playing? Do you think it's good for the game?
Okay, well, let's do this. I think it's great for the game because it makes people watch multiple games, and because you want to see players on your team, so you end up watching other games, other players, and so from a league standpoint, it's great because you get more viewership on more games. From a player perspective, I never played it. Now being out of the game, I would consider it. But when I was playing, the tough part was whenever my stats weren't good, people would tell me, I'm walking down the street or something. Hey man, you ain't give me no points on the fantasy, and it's like, man, we won the game, but it doesn't matter that we won the game. It's, hey, I need some more points. So that's that was always the rough part for me as a player.
Talking to Jerome Bettis, and Jerome is working with Campbell's Chunky Soup this season on the All-Pro Dad campaign. I'm very behind Chunky Soup. I've always liked the sirloin burger and the white and wild rice. So I'm glad to help you promote it. Tell me about the campaign.
Well, the campaign is it's focused at dads and the dads that want to spend more time with their children, that just because of life, they've having to do different things. And what we want to do at Chunky and myself is we want people to take a pledge, and all they got to do is go to Chunky Soup page on Facebook, take this pledge, and all the pledge is asking you to do is two things. One, at least once a week, have a nice wholesome dinner with your family. And the second thing is to get active, spend some quality active time with your kids, because right now, with the internet and with these video games, kids are becoming couch potatoes, and so if you can become active with them, not only are they out and doing things, but you are as well. So I think that's the way that we want this program to really work. And you go in there, and when you sign up to take the pledge, you actually qualify yourself for a sweepstakes that 5 families get a chance to go out to the Pro Bowl and see some other All-Pro dads out there working as well.
And we're always a big proponent of bringing family together, and fantasy football is a great way to bring families together. We talk to families. People have family leagues, father and son leagues, so we think that's a good thing. Now, talking running backs with you, because I think that's that position pretty well.
Pretty well.
Javid Best yesterday exploded, and we were talking about Best. Maybe people talk about him as the next Chris Johnson. I think Chris Johnson has like this unique ability to create his own space, but Best is even more versatile. Are we going to see more of this from Javid Best, or is this like how good do you think Javid Best? Are we going to see more near 200-yard performances from this kid?
I don't know if you're going to see that much because passing yards is really unpredictable. You catch a screen, you go 70, 80 yards. I mean that's something that doesn't happen every day. So you can't really count on that. But what you can look at is the production on the ground. And you can pretty much, bet that you're going to see the same type of production on the ground that you saw from him, last week. This past week, I think he had like 78 yards, 80-something yards, and he had a touchdown on the ground. So you should expect to see those type of numbers. Don't be wowed by the receiving numbers because that's going to go up and down, and you can't really count on that. You're going to get lucky some weeks and have an explosion, but you got to count on the yards on the ground.
Darren McFadden has been a disappointment so far in his first 2 seasons. The last 2 weeks, he's had the opportunity to be the #1 running back with Michael Bush injured, Big performance yesterday, 30 carries, 145 yards. Do you think he could be a feature back going forward, and is this signs of things to come for him?
Well, he still has to develop. I got a chance to see him a little bit, and just didn't necessarily like the way that he attacked the inside runs. I think he still needs some more work. When you have fast running backs, the question is, can they run in between the tackles? And I think that's the question that Chris Johnson answered so well, is that he's been able to run in between the tackles, although he is a speed guy, and you rarely see that. Adrian Peterson is one guy who you look at and you say, okay, well, that's the prototype guy because he's big, he's physical, and he's fast. But when you have these guys that are just fast and not really that physical, you don't expect them to be able to run in between the tackles, i.e. Reggie Bush or something like that. He's not designed to run inside the tackles, although if he ran in between the tackles, he would be a better running back. That's just not how he's made.
We're talking to Jerome Bettis, former All-Pro running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the St. Louis Rams. What else? We're talking running backs with Jerome Bettis. LaShawn McCoy had a breakout game yesterday, and with I was saying before, when your quarterback plays well, it really opens up running lanes and the rest of the offense for you. What do you think of McCoy going forward? Do you think Kevin Cobb's going to develop and continue to open up running room for LaShawn McCoy?
I do believe so. I think McCoy's a really good running back. I like him. He's a physical guy. I mean, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he gets in between the tackles well. And that's what you want to see. When you're looking at a running back, the telltale sign of a good running back is his ability to run in between the tackles. Because in this league, you're not going to run outside and be faster than anybody. You got so much speed on the edges of defenses that you've got to run inside to get outside. So when I look at a guy like McCoy, he gets it. He hits it up in there, and then he's able to break out and break through and go for a long one. So I expect to see more of that from him, especially with Cobb being pushed by Vic.
A lot of fantasy owners have been upset with the Chiefs' backfield. They feel Jamal Charles should be the feature back. We saw Thomas Jones get 22 carries yesterday. Jamal Charles just 11. What do you think of Jamal Charles, and how do you think this backfield plays out in the next few weeks?
Well, what you got to understand is there's a monetary concern as well from a team, and you look at this type of situation. Jones came in; he was a 1,400-yard back last year, and so with that, there comes some respect there, and so they say, well, you know what, this guy's proven. We know what we're getting. He's a proven commodity. We've paid him to such a point where it behooves us to play him more because we don't have to worry about the upside. Whereas you got Charles, you got to bring in now. If he plays extremely well this season, now you got to commit $20, $30, $40 million to him to sign him. So it's one of those situations where they've already signed Jones. They know what they have. They can afford to play him more, and then work on a contract probably for Charles, and then bring him along. I think this situation, they don't want to give him the full reins yet.
What is wrong with Brandon Jacobs right now?
Well, I think it's people are saying what's wrong with Brandon Jacobs. Well, Brandon Jacobs is he's the same player he's always been. The problem is the offensive line for the Giants they're not the same line that they've always been, and as a result of that, you're not seeing the same type of runs that you're used to seeing with Jacobs. And so people are saying, oh well, he's not. He lost it. He was never a fast guy. That wasn't his makeup. His makeup was power, and so when he's unable to get started, then he can't use that power the way that he wants to. And I know people are saying, well, he's tipping, he's running, timidly and that kind of thing. But when you're getting hit, as soon as you hit the hole, it's harder for you to run full throttle a lot of times.
Talking to Jerome Bettis, former running back for the Rams and the Steelers. A lot of controversy about the Jets' backfield, especially for fantasy football players. LaDainian Tomlinson looking really sharp, but Sean Green not living up to the potential right now. Talk about Tomlinson and how he's having a rebound year in your eyes, but are you expecting better from Sean Green in the near future?
I am expecting better from Sean Green, but you got to understand this guy is a second-year player. I mean, he had a good run in the playoffs, but you got to understand this is some isolated games, and so with that being said, the offensive line was playing a lot better. They made some moves on that offensive line. I think really, realistically, that really hurt them. Alan Faneca, was an all-pro guard. When you lose a guy like that, that really hurts. So that offense is not the same without Alan Faneca there. So, the productivity is going to be off a little bit for Sean Green, but he's still a young player, and people have to understand that. And conversely, LaDainian Tomlinson, he's a Hall of Fame running back, and that he got revitalized with the move, and the fact that the San Diego Chargers didn't want him anymore, and that gives you some motivation there. You train better, you work harder, and you're seeing the fruits of his labor now.
What's your take on the Ben Roethlisberger situation, and how do you think he fares when he returns to the field?
I think he fares well. And I think the great part about what's happening is this football team is developing an identity without him. They're running the football. They're playing tough defense. So when he comes back, now you're going to have an even better football team, because now they have a dimension of being able to throw the football, which is something that right now they're not doing a whole lot of, and so they're building this running game, which will pay dividends when Ben comes back and in late November and December in Pittsburgh.
I want to thank Jerome Bettis for taking the time with us. Jerome, working with the Campbell's Chunky Soup All-Pro Dad campaign. Jerome, we just want to let you know fantasy football players appreciated you for many years. We just didn't think you were a school bus. You were as valuable as a tour bus or a city bus as well.
Thank you.
All right, Jerome, thanks a lot for taking the time.
Hey, take care. Bye.
Thanks, Jerome.
I mean, everybody drew up Jerome as a school bus. I mean, the city buses are important too, and so are tour buses. I mean, how would you get to Atlantic City?
You wouldn't.
One thing I think about Jerome Bettis, I think about him. I think it was 2005 or 6. I can't remember him taking down Brian Urlacher in the goal line, that game in Pittsburgh in the snow and everything. Mm-hmm. One of the great moments in football.
Yep. Nice to have a guy like Jerome Bettis on, for the insight, that you don't always get, from the fantasy experts.